Republican Senator James Risch, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is now holding today's hearing on America's cybersecurity. So great to see you in the middle of what's going on to investigate what's happening. Could this be an opportunity for you on the Hill, for the president, to cleanse our election system of vulnerabilities? Can Democrats work with Republicans on this, do you think?
Well, I think that this is not a partisan issue. It is certainly a bipartisan issue. The hearing, we had a clear takeaway from the hearing today. The hearing was on misinformation. You know, the tampering by the Russians falls into two different buckets. One is a direct attack, if you would, on the infrastructure that is vote counting, vote casting, that sort of thing. The other is a disinformation campaign. They are two very, very different things. Today we talked about the disinformation campaign, and the takeaway from that hearing is everyone has a crystal clear picture of what the Russians are doing and attempting to do. The difficulty you have is what you do about it. The one thing we have done about it, of course, is we've sanctioned the Russians and sanctioned them heavily, and that has not slowed this up any. They continue to do this disinformation sort of thing, and it really goes into the First Amendment rights that we have, and it hijacks that, if you would, and puts out things that Americans would be protected under the First Amendment as saying.
You know what's so ironic in this? The president is always telling us that there is fake stuff out there. Whether it benefits you or it doesn't benefit you, he's skeptical about what's out there. And of course, sometimes that's about the media, but sometimes it's just about information in general. And what I hear you saying is that this misinformation campaign, they're hitting us where they know we're vulnerable, believing in each other and believing the media.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing. And the president's right that we all know on the internet it's full of things that are not to be trusted, and everything needs to be double checked. There were about the only solution that was a concrete solution was put on the table. Someone talked about setting up an agency that would review this stuff and determine what is or what isn't. Look, I don't want to turn this over to the government to start making a decision as to what is to be believed and what isn't.
Sure.
But what the takeaway of all this is that people need to be very, very careful about what they believe when they're on the internet.
Well, and it's frightening to think that people were showing up in places. You don't know who might be there at those organized events. I mean, Americans vulnerable. Again, I bring up that word. Real quickly before we move on, and I want to talk about tariffs. So are we any closer to confirming that you think this was Russia? And by the way, it doesn't just have to be Russia. It could be a whole host of people who'd love to do this to us.
It was said in the hearing today that it isn't just Russia that's doing this. There are other actors. But look, Russia's the major league player in this. No one else can hold a candle to what the Russians have done.
All right. Let's talk about the president putting some pressure. I think they call it maximum pressure now on China. He may increase tariffs from 10 to 25% on a lot of goods. What do you think will happen if that happens?
Well, it's hard to say. Look, most of us up here are free traders. Tariffs are not a good thing. If everybody could trade and we had a level playing field without tariffs, everything would be fine. The difficulty is the Chinese have perfected using our technology to do things that they want to do. Now, certainly there's no objection to China developing the technology they want, but to take things that have been patented, and we have a perfect case in Idaho, Micron technology that makes microchips, they're being sued in China for violation of a patent that they own here in the United States. But it was stolen, it was taken to China, and then the state-owned enterprise in China that owns that is suing Micron before a state-owned enterprise, a Chinese court, and they're having a very difficult time of it. This stuff is insidious. It is very difficult, and you can't compete in that kind of a world.
Yeah, intellectual property
to have the rule.
Is what you're talking about. So the president now sees economic hemorrhaging. Those are my words, but it is what is happening in China right now, and he's ready to hit them. It is a strategy. We will see what it yields. It's strong. Great to see you, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Harris.
Fox News.